gave me a professorial pipe. And like I was saying, Metzger uses a pipe now because of you. Like he
I love that guy.
He's the best.
He's so funny, dude.
He's such a nut. When he
comes into the room,
though,
he just blows the room away.
Yeah.
Dude. He's just a force in there. It's incredible.
And he's a giant dude, so he hovers over you like, oh, you didn't know? You don't know about this? And then he just hits you with 15 conspiracies in a row, rapid fire. With
so good.
Yeah, with no breaks in between them. So thanks for doing this, man.
Thanks for having me.
We have a great mutual friend in Dave Smith. He recommends you highly.
Yeah.
So I'm glad we could finally do this. I wish there was more going on in the world right now we could talk about, though. It just seems like
we'll just have to go back over Vietnam or something.
Yeah, some the old stuff back when we didn't know any better.
It's kind of a mess.
Yeah. I've seen you argue on television like 1,000 times. Do you enjoy like that Piers Morgan type chaos?
No.
Yeah.
In fact, I just got back from England. I got invited to do the Oxford debate, which I lost on Ukraine. But then I invited myself on Piers Morgan Live as long as I was in town. And
when you say you lost a debate, is that because the people voted that were in the audience?
Yeah.
All those people with Ukraine flags?
Well, they didn't have Ukraine flags that time. I think someone showed an old picture or something. But same crowd. So what happened was, when they leave, they either leave through the yes door or the no door. And the yeses had it, which was unbelievable to me, but not that I did my very best job.
Well,
but on Piers Morgan, I was trying to get myself just an interview so I could just talk to him about some things. And instead, they just prefer that format where you got to mix it up with a guy, which I can do that too,
Yeah, the interview thing is way better. The thing that he does, though, is really good for engagement. He's very smart.
Yeah.
Like, Piers he's mastered it. He's taken, like, the Jerry Springer type format and thrown it into the world of politics and any other social issue that's going on.
Yeah. But it is, too, like, years ago, the guy from antiwar.com can't be on TV, but we can be on his show. He doesn't care. He's cool with it. I mean, I guess same thing here.
Yeah.
Where that is a big change from how things used to be. We just had this whole separate conversation going on below the higher one where he has reach, up and down the chain, I guess.
Is he on TV, or is it just
No,
YouTube?
but he just has massive viewership, so it counts, I guess.
TV is actually a hindrance now, because the only way people watch TV is clips that someone takes and puts on X or YouTube. That's it.
Or they just see it accidentally. It's just on, it happens to be on when they're in the room or whatever.
What a fucking dying market. Like, imagine if you're in broadcast television right now and you're just thinking, like, what am I doing? Like, this is a bad format. You have to break for commercials every 7 minutes. No conversation could ever get into depth. There's executives in your ear telling you what to say and what not to say. They'll edit out anything that they think is, like, controversial that's going to fuck with their sponsors or fuck with the government or fuck with whatever their narrative is.
It's just everything's changed. When I first started doing podcasting, it was the archives of the interviews from my radio show. It was so important to me that I'm on the radio because that's real legitimacy. That means somebody hired you. Somebody thought you were good enough to be there. Whereas podcasting, any jerk can do from his basement, and it just doesn't count. And then that just became not true. And I kind of clung on to my radio show. I actually gave up my last radio show on KPFK in Los Angeles last year. Where it didn't matter anymore anyway. And podcasting has completely changed the entire market.
Do you know how many people were listening to you actually on the radio before you quit?
I think it's like probably high thousands, but not 10,000. KPFK in LA. It's the crazy. It's the most powerful FM transmitter west of the Mississippi River. It's grandfathered in at 115,000 watts, but the thing is about it too, and it's always been like this. The programming on there is so inconsistent that you're listening to Latina lesbians 1 hour, and then you're listening to crystal worship, and then you're listening to hard-hitting news, and then you're listening to like leftist union organizing, or then just whatever, you know what I mean? But it's just, there's no like real rhyme or reason to it. It's just hard to follow,
What kind of a channel is it?
Oh, it's, left of the dial, 90.7 FM, so it's, comparable to like KBT type. It's not actual public radio, but it's no commercials, all donations. And,
oh, wow.
I mean, they were good
a regular radio show that's no commercials and it's not public?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know if co-op still exists here in Austin. Co-op radio.
You must have made a lot of money from that. You must be so rich from doing that.
Yeah,
like a leftist radio with no ads at all, just donations. Boy, you must be raking it in.
No, they never did pay me, but I looked at it like they let me be on there for 14, 15 years or something. And, you know, like even when I was writing my book about the Russia-Ukraine stuff, I would do my radio show once a week, and I was able to still cover what was going on in Palestine, and in a way that felt like, something meaningful that I can do, even though my attention is completely diverted elsewhere. I still got all my guys from the Libertarian Institute Anti-War Comic and interviewed them once a week, and then when I left KPFK, I got some response. They're like, "Oh no, where are you going?" kind of thing. So, I mean, some people were caring for it at the time.
Did you let them know, hey, I have a podcast, you could see them all these episodes will be archived?
Yeah, I kind of always let them know that. You know, I've done 6,200 something interviews since 2003 on my various shows. So I always try to remind people to go check the archives if they want for the full dose of that stuff.
Before we get into any of these subjects, how did you get into this?
Well, you know, in the 90s, I was, when I was younger, I was much more of like a New World Order truther type. And, but then I basically dropped all that. I grew out of that.
How do you define New World Order truther type?
Okay, well, I mean, the New World Order conspiracy was that American foreign policy ultimately is about building a one-world federal government under the United Nations that would ultimately dominate the United States. The John Birch Society sort of idea of power. And I really like those guys. And I believed that for a long time, really through Clinton, and even into the beginning of W. Bush. But then I finally realized with the way that the Iraq War was prosecuted that this is not about building up the UN Security Council. We got the National Security Council and Cheney and Disney Council, and they have their own separate policy that just disproves that sort of New World Order. And the American, and in fact, so what H.W. Bush meant by that was just the era of the American empire with no one to stop us this time. It was never to build up the UN as the world government. It was to build up Washington, D.C. as the world government. And of course, they've been failing and flailing at trying to establish that ever since.
Yeah. So the conspiracy was that the United Nations would be the government of the entire earth, and that all other governments would somehow or another give up their power to the United Nations. For what reason?
Because they're all in on it together in secret, whatever. And that's the point. Is it ain't right? It's not true.
Well, my question would be like,
too many people would have to Too many people have to sacrifice the power they do have to somebody else, and when they don't have to.
Money.
Yeah,
that's the other thing. I mean, as soon as you lose power, then you lose access to insane amounts of wealth.
Yeah. So we don't want, obviously the ultimate nightmare would be that you would have some kind of one world government, and then some kind of totalitarian regime would take power with a monopoly on nukes and a monopoly on police power. And, but that's just a nightmare for centuries from now. I mean, that's just not going to happen anytime soon at all.
You don't think there's any push towards centralizing things in that regard? Like, wasn't the World Health Organization trying to push for something where the entire world would have to respond to their pandemic rules?
Well, look, so yes, there's always, the widening and deepening of the international law as much as they can. But at the end of the day, there is no actual world state to enforce that law other than just the United States of America. But there is no one world army, one world police force to enforce these things. It's all about coercing and cajoling governments to go along. And which goes to show, this is the whole thing about when they talk about, what H.W. Bush meant when he talked about the New World Order is the same thing that Joe Biden meant when he would say the liberal, rules-based international order of just doing what America says. Mm-hmm. Right? That's what it is. It's a pseudo-empire. It's not exactly the same kind of empires and, colonialism that we've had in the past, but it's sort of a neo-colonialism where if we can overthrow your government with some money, then we'll do that. A little bit of CIA help, we'll do that. And if we have to bomb your capital city, we'll go for that if we think so. Yeah. And it does go back really to the Wolfowitz Doctrine, of various degrees, but this is a reference to right after the first Gulf War. Paul Wolfowitz at that time was the Deputy Secretary of Defense for Policy. And him and a couple other New York Times, David Libby and Zalmay Khalilzad, they wrote up this document called the Defense Planning Guidance. and it was saying this is going to be, the posture for the post-Cold War era and the post-First Iraq War, Gulf War era. And what it said was, we're going to be the most dominant power on every continent, anywhere in the world, and we're not even going to tolerate any other nation or alliance or group of nations anywhere to try to join together to balance against us. We will be dominant everywhere, and we'll never let anyone get that far ahead, or at least we're going to try to construct an order where our power is essentially permanent and they don't even try it. And so that's what they've been trying to do with expanding our footprint in the Middle East, expanding our footprint into Eastern Europe, and of course, working hard at least on building their alliances or tightening them and arming their alliances in Eastern Asia. And it's, under the theory that if it's not us, it'll be somebody else and it'll be so much worse, so we have to stay and dominate everything forever. But of course, you can look at the debt and just see, well, we can't afford it, so I don't know how anybody else can, but we certainly cannot afford to keep doing this.
Right. And if you look at Wolfowitz, if you see, pull up an image of Paul Wolfowitz, he looks exactly like the kind of guy you would expect to make something like the Wolfowitz Doctrine.
Right. And by the way, they did rewrite it because it was a scandal. It was leaked to the New York Times, and so they went back and rewrote it, and they just said, well, we'll bring our friends, from the international institutions along
that
too.
That picture right there where your cursor is, right below, right there. No, to the right of that. That one.
Yeah, there you go.
Look at that. That looks like, that completely looks like the type of guy that would do something like that.
So listen, there's a book about the neoconservatives by Jacob Hilburn called They Knew They Were Right. Which is, of course,
that's
right?
Hilarious.
These guys who have no idea what they're doing, really,
That's hilarious.
Let's try this.
Yeah.
Fit right in my little head.
Like I said, you can fuck with the volume on that little knob and turn it up and down. So this is one of the things that when Coleman Hughes and our buddy Dave Smith got into it with was about whether you remember when they brought up this 7 countries thing that, and he was saying that there was no real proof that exists, that he didn't actually read it. He was told that we were going to go into 7 countries. But, I was talking to Dave about this the other day. It's like, if you just look up at the fact that we did everything on that list except Iran, every single one of them took place except Iran. Like, he's like, I really want to go and do that debate again, and I can't get Coleman to sit down with me.
Yes. For people who are interested in this subject, long term, there's no mystery about the connection between the neoconservatives' doctrines and then the activities that the W administration engaged in. Subsequent. I mean, what happened was you have, Andrew Coburn, the great journalist Andrew Coburn, says that the neoconservatives are a cross between the Israel lobby and the military-industrial complex. The fighter bomber salesmen needed eggheads to justify their policies, and the neoconservatives wanted to support Israel, wanted to support American hegemony, and so took all the military-industrial complex money to build their think tanks, to create their consensus, to build their policy. Their own kind of 1,000 little accounts of the long formulations is to get what they want, and then the 7 countries thing is...
So what we're talking about, just to clarify, is Wesley Clark was given... he was on some television show. I forget what the show was. Do you remember?
There's 2 different statements. One of them I know was with Amy Goodman from Democracy Now!
That's right. Democracy Now!
And basically what he's talking about is... he says that a military officer of some rank told then retired but still with access former General Wesley Clark, who had been the Supreme Allied Commander of NATO forces in Europe under Bill Clinton, did the Kosovo War. So a very prominent 4-star general. And he said, the way he told the story was, he told him, hey, they're planning for a war with Iraq. And he said, Iraq, why? And the guy said, I don't know. And then the second part of the story was he came back a week later or something, and the same guy said, there's this memo that has the 7 countries, and they say they want to take them all in 5 years. So they, meaning the office of the Secretary of Defense. So that's Donald Rumsfeld, who's not a neoconservative. He's his own separate thing here. He's the Secretary of Defense. But all of his guys, all of his most important guys, are neoconservatives. So the Deputy Secretary of Defense is Paul Wolfowitz. The Deputy Secretary of Defense for Intelligence is Stephen Kinnock. The Deputy Secretary of Defense for Policy is Douglas Feist. And then under him is Adrian Scholsky and Bill Rudy, and all of these guys Michael Rubin and others who were all working on this project to get us into Iraq. And this is the neoconservative network of power. Scooter Libby and David Worms, who traveled around from state to defense to the vice president's office, which Scooter Libby and John Hanlon in the vice president's office. You got Zalmi Khalilzad and Alan Abrams on the National Security Council, Robert Joseph and Stephen Hadley and Eric Edelman. All of these guys were already the network of guys who agreed with this policy going back through the 1990s, is what they had founded the Project for the American Century on. And so what they're saying is we should not tolerate any, and remember the time, this was the stated doctrine, we will not tolerate the existence of any Middle Eastern regime that supports terrorism. And supports terrorism can mean anything, right? Like Abu Nidal died in Iraq before the war even started and was a washed up old terrorist from a previous day, but like that's good enough. Got Mujahideen cult commie terrorists who've worked for us ever since, but at that time was a good enough excuse to invade Iraq. They would invoke that. And so they made up that doctrine.
The Mujahideen were in Iraq as well as Afghanistan?
Well, this is a particular sect of Mujahideen kooks who are Iranian communist cultists who had left Iran and gone to work for Saddam Hussein and then were...
Alrighty.
He supported them. They had nothing to do with anti-American terrorism at that time.
Good morning, everyone. How are we all this morning? What a wonderful day. What a strange world that we live in. As an Irish person stranded down here in this Bolshevik revolution, I think it's important right now to establish the code of conduct, the behavioral norms that Irish people, established themselves under when they first arrived here, between 100 and 200 years ago in Australia. I think that's important when we look at the overall financial and governmental system that we're all, swept up in. And so basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to map out exactly how I've been stalled out completely in an unacceptable arrangement of people that are overly being benefited from a pandering welfare state.
Welcome to the House of Anastasia.
Against the pandering welfare
We love you,
state.
Anastasia.
But it does seem a little bit counterintuitive for there to be a pandering welfare state.
My next single is a dance hall banger, and I need you to bring the heat. Davis, just show me what you got on the choreography.
Perhaps even criminally conspiratorial, conceptual fucking monstrosities, like I've identified recently in the dental industry. I heard yesterday as well.
Okay, let's hit the track.
Dentist that apparently has been giving people AIDS and hepatitis, and that's basically part of the course. Dentists, you might not know this, but dentists were basically the worst possible profession that you could ever imagine. They're not some type of fucking doctor, and even that, if they're rubbing shoulders with the doctors aren't doctors. Do you know what all of this confusion? Who caused it all? Right.
No, we'll just cut the track there. Sorry, one second.
It's probably the worst possible effect.
Dancing my heart out.
It's ravaged.
Is she?
Ignore her. She's
recent decades. Is just people pretending to be rich, right? For some reason, the trend, Instagram.
From
we see it all the time.
She's from a lesbian outreach program.
Lamborghinis or other people's Lamborghinis. Perhaps, I don't know, giving out lollies at the shopping centre and pretending that they've got a little harem of little beauty queens around them. The problem is that that's a lie, right? It's a lie, yeah? But it wasn't the first place. If you think, this manifested on social media, this is how it existed. It didn't manifest there. It manifested in our property system and in our immigration system for the last 60 years. The trend has been to arrive in Australia and then pretend that you're rich and send postcards back to your fucking grovelling, fucking freezing cold fucking clansmen or kinsmen back at home, whether that be in Ireland or Scotland or Wales or England or wherever it is. That's what the trend of Australia has been. Australia has basically been the Instagram of the fucking world for the last fucking, at least 40 years. Yeah. So people would rock up in Australia. They'd get this thing called a 30-year fucking, marriage, which was like pretty fucking new. It wasn't really all that commonly used in other periods of time. It was a financial instrument to basically sell you raffle tickets to the Instagram fucking parade of fucking self-indulgence. And what it led to was an Australia that was more concerned with the image of living. Do you have a pool? Do you have a second story? Do you play golf 4 times a week? Well, then you're rich. What time? Do you have 2 cars in your garage? Well, then you're rich. And this isn't real. This 30-year mortgage fucking, financial obscurement was basically the original Instagram filter. Okay, and then we had politicians. Once you have enough people participating in this collective delusion of wealth, cosmetic surgery, then it really just starts to flow on into all regions, and the politicians start protecting this newly formed class of pretend rich. And the problem really comes, it's like there's nothing wrong with, like, what do they say, like act as if, act as if you're rich, and then you might be one day. But this, it's like that. There's a little bit more to it than that. It's not act as if you're rich. Sign a contract for a 30-year period of some type of like postcard,
they made up
static image of wealth, and then just
in Iraq as well
do nothing else except what everyone else is doing. That's not what rich people do. Rich people go above and beyond. They extend themselves into every, unseen horizon. They expose themselves to risk, but responsibly, making sure that the downside effects are insured against. It's a long, tedious process, and it usually is not held in the space of what's it, conspicuousy. Okay, it's not. Most people that are actually well off, they're not conspicuously well off. Okay, this is basically this is like the pixie photo effect. It's like the idea of being conspicuously well off is only agreed upon usually, of people that aren't well off. And when you collectivise, a mortgage situation, then you're all collectively not well off. And basically my job as a person that is doing none of the things, I'm not telling any of the things, right? If I do a business, it's going to be, when there becomes an unacceptable amount of risk to whatever it is I'm particularly doing, I don't do it. I do other things. I educate myself. I prepare myself. I concentrate on other aspects of my life. But there is no way that anyone, any Australian-born citizen, any descendant of this country right now, can really confidently hope to do absolutely anything in this current environment. And that's really telling. It's really, 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 really telling. And it should be, at the highest level, exposed and broadcast as the most dangerous metric that there is. But it isn't. Because our political system has devolved into a political party that represents this conspicuous pretend mortgage, conspicuous wealth cohort of whoever, and of the people begging for welfare payments on the other side. But wealth creators and responsible stewards as well, which is another class. It's like you don't have to be outwardly always creating wealth. A lot of people, it's like protecting assets is a large class. It's like this is what is coming under threat by, I believe, both parties in the country right now. for more than likely nefarious means to do with like basically unsustainable enlargement. This is too big. It's too big. It's on both sides. The conspicuous wealth pretend mortgage, parade, Instagram parade,
well, maybe I do agree. She wasn't.
And then we get because what we end up with,
she was dancing. Great. Yeah, you got the
false paradigm where it's like because the socialist ideal is that we should all be round about the same, have access to the same things, but that just isn't human nature. Like human nature is that people are going to want to differentiate themselves, and if the culture is maintained.
So Ursula, are you ready to step up to the streets?
Yes, I'm trying. I'm ready to take center stage with you. You better save the last dance for me.
Naming early 2000s dance
the
films.
The lower economic people that they expect that's where they want
because
to
Dirty
go.
Dance, it's the 80s. This is hard.
Hey,
right?
Coyote Ugly, zip it.
Yeah.
Hit the track.
And
Dancers,
it's a flaw. It's like this is Andrew Tate basically
Knock it
is
in.
the poster child of this, right? Andrew Tate's wealth is
49-year-old
nowhere near
lady
what he
having a
presents
hot
his wealth
flash.
to be.
Yes.
Yet he
I got
still
finger guns.
convinces
I got
a whole
finger
bunch of
guns.
people
Okay,
to
I'm going to
follow
just
him.
call it the finger gun. Sorry.
We have that
it's sort of giving
in a less
drunk auntie at a wedding
extreme
vibes.
Instagram
I have
version
been
in
a drunk
Australia,
auntie at a
where we
wedding, and
have
I think
this
that's me.
invested
That's
property
exactly-
class, tycoons, corporate tycoons,
Saying,
where women, dress like this, maybe.
Yeah, you got
Whatever.
the talent.
They go off to some office job and they've got some
Okay.
type of investment
So,
portfolio
Ursula,
property, and
are
then
you
they
ready to
they're
step
trying
up
to
to the
lord
streets?
over.
Yes,
with
I'm trying. I'm
3
ready
or
to
4
take
or
center
5
stage
or
with you.
1 or
You
2,
better save the last
investment
dance for me.
properties.
Naming early
This
2000s dance films.
as a class. And if these individuals particularly find
Dirty
themselves
Dance,
in a
it's the
human
80s. This is hard.
Hey,
resources
Coyote
role,
Ugly, zip it.
Yeah.
not
Hit the
speaking from
track.
experience right now,
Dancers.
then that's particularly nefarious because they are also holding the keys to the castle. So they're preventing, they basically are managing the influx of like, well, are you allowed in to this position, this job, in order to have your investment portfolio?
Look at it.
It's a
Look at
feminine
it.
Ponzi scheme.
49-year-old lady having a hot flash.
Yes.
I got finger guns. I got finger guns.
Okay, I'm going to just call it the finger gun. Sorry. It's sort of giving drunk auntie at a wedding vibes.
I have been a drunk
And the
auntie at a
problem
wedding, and I think
really
that's me.
is that we're
That's
not allowed to
exactly
do
what it's
that
going for.
things
You've got
because
me,
Yeah,
and I've
women,
got you. Let's hit it.
we're supposed
It's
to
late.
support
And
women
the vodka's
because women are perfect and they never do anything wrong. They never structurally
Head
design
hard.
anything that isn't absolutely
dancing.
flawless and
It's
perfect.
90% eyebrow.
If they put on a dress, they look magnificent.
Get 'em up.
There is never a
I
thing
can
wrong.
do the side of my face.
That's how we
they
get the
wake
straw
up
out of the
there,
drink.
They look like absolute goddesses, and they stroll on a pavement of
I do that a lot.
pure fucking clouds all
Look
the
at
way
you,
through their
Sarah.
perfect little,
Stretch your butt.
Snow White singing to the birds and all these types of things.
Stretch your
This is
butt.
what we've been
Where's my
shown
keys?
as women.
Where's my
as
keys?
men,
No, enough.
as women, as
I
children,
can't watch another second of this.
I'm
a bit confused.
Of
Who
women,
here
all these
has
things
sold
is
30 million
basically
records
the
worldwide?
worst possible scenario to prime an entire population with, right at the moment that you have a radical experiment to do with the dynamics, gender
You
dynamics.
did,
Anastasia.
So I
oversight
think
of
that
our
I can choose
financial
who's doing the
political
choreography.
legal
All right, then, well,
system.
Who are you
Yeah.
going to pick?
It's the ultimate. Basically, it's like we've had the story of Little Red Riding Hood. Okay, Little Red Riding Hood, right? Going to Grandma's house. Okay, and the big bad wolf, who would traditionally, if I had a bit more stubble and I wasn't wearing this nice little active exercise wear, I would probably be identified as the big bad wolf in this scenario. Right? And so what the big bad wolf did is he dressed up like Grandma to trick Little Red Riding Hood, who would be Little Red Riding Hood in this scenario, would be the young, innocent little girl, perhaps wanting a job, a corporate job, or some
Welcome
type of
to the House of
or some type of
Anastasia.
investment.
We love you, Anastasia.
Right?
Thanks,
And so
dolphins.
the
My
big
next
bad
single
wolf,
is a dance
who
hall
would be
banger,
identified
and
by
I need
every
you to
single
bring
person across this
the
country would be
heat.
me, has been replaced by women. And it's confusing because wolves are also women. There are female wolves. In fact, the pecking order of a wolf is more feminine based.
Davis said.
Davis, just show me what you got on the choreography.
Okay, let's
it's
hit the
very
track.
sexist to assume that the big bad wolf was a man. You know, and this is the type of like gradual, slow but steady pushback that is required in order to start to really pinpoint and identify which demographic particularly has created this unsustainable death trap that our political, environmental, sociological, economic situation, political situation has deteriorated to. Okay? And basically, the moment that we go, there are boy wolves and there are girl wolves, and whichever one they are, they would both perhaps try to eat a small girl trying to get to grandma's house. Now, if we step back and remember that we're all human beings, but economic incentive and profiteering and things like that, and then corporate structured remuneration and things like all the capitalistic, all these things, right? All the words that these Chamber of Commerce meetings throw around like confetti are all important to identify that there is a type of predation that is necessary in order to make money. Okay? Whether you have a big old fucking cock or whether you have a trim, snatched little
62 says,
whichever it is, if you are in the arena trying to make money, you are a predator. Okay? There is blood dripping from your teeth. You have, under full moon, you howl at the fucking into the gazing, glowing orb, and you,
Isaiah 62:2 says, "Thou shalt be called by a new
and consume
name,
you know
which
what I mean?
the
Like,
mouth
this
of
is
the
the
Lord
type
shall
of
name." So
thing
you know what that tells me?
that needs to be understood. So what men have been doing for, I'll just say it here, it's like thousands of years. Okay, which is more than like 10. It's a lot more. Now, I'm going to get back to some of these figures later on. Like some of these important figures are being misunderstood. So thousands, actually, it's like hundreds of thousands of years, more than likely. Hundreds of thousands of years. Because we've got to remember, because I referenced a kind of
Isaiah
a
62
scenario of wolves and prey and, hundreds of thousands of years is how this patriarchal system has prevented a type of over stimulation towards predation onto your particular group. Okay, which is important. Okay, you got to remember if you see a group of wolves and say there's 10 and say 8 of those wolves are women, right? They're girl wolves. They are just as likely to maul you to death or your young child.
62:2 says, "Thou shalt be called by a
tricycle through the suburbs." 8 wolves, whether they're girlies or boys, right? Now, unfortunately, 8 female wolves are just as likely to rip to shreds a baby wolf, whether it be a little girl baby wolf or a boy baby wolf. And so it's perhaps assumed that if the balance of boy wolves and girl wolves isn't correct, that there could be an oversupply of female wolves who do indeed occasionally kill for no reason at all. They don't even eat the wolf. They just destroy something live and then leave it. This is what a significantly large portion of our housing market has turned into. It's a bunch of female wolves or male wolves under the thumb of female wolves, demanding that to maintain their conspicuous wealth, its projection machine. I'm
Isaiah 62:2 says, thou shalt be called.
Not necessarily kill, but you need to.
Isaiah 62:2 says, thou shalt be called by a new name, which the mouth of the
Lord. Major causes for substance abuse, marriage breakdown, and suicide are economic hardship.
Isaiah 62:2 says,
facing economic hardship by maintaining an unrealistic entry level to exist is an extractive process that will statistically lead to death. So if we gathered you all, gathered this
called by a new name, which the mouth of the Lord shall name. So you know what that tells me? We don't have to be called depressed anymore. We don't have to be called anxious or fearful. We don't have to be called addicted anymore. We don't have to be called bitter or angry, because you know what? We got a new name. When we're baptized in the name of Jesus, we receive a new name. When we get the gift of the Holy Ghost, we receive a new language.
Social decline, social deterioration, which is another message.
Thou shalt be called by a new.
If your conspicuous, projected, mortgage-backed status, conspicuous wealth scenario, isn't cutting it in the modern age because your status is moving gradually into the older age group, which is lowering your female status. And you can't extend anymore because there's hyperinflation and like a closed, it's kind of the curtains are coming in on this Ponzi scheme scam, right? Then the next thing you would obviously go to is you would deteriorate the status of the younger, particularly women, okay? And the way you would do this is you would prey on the young men, and you would deteriorate the social norms of young women to participate in things that were socially unacceptable, like, say, prostitution, like, say, digital prostitution, like, say, the same way as the older women have sold their life down the river in a mortgage-backed, delusional, Ponzi scheme. The only way for them to win status brownie points is to turn the younger generation of attractive, energetic, optimistic young women into basically digital whores in a digital harem held by the emperor of the digital world, whoever that is, undisclosed. We live in an empire of undisclosed constraints. And basically this empire or this emperor is projecting the desire for these women because they've created a scenario where they're trying to beat each other's conspicuous wealth status in order to weirdly counterintuitively attract a man. It's like, what man are they trying to attract? Because actually speaking, conspicuous wealth, by women, if you took the whole population of men, that is actually limiting your breeding potential or your reproductive potential down to almost nobody. Because, again, counterintuitively, men don't really desire women that are participating in this conspicuous wealth delusion. Now, the problem is that is going to start breaking down. That is going to start becoming public knowledge. And what's even worse is, there also is no emperor. And if there was, the emperor is sitting way up in the fucking clouds, and he is looking down at all of you as ridiculous servants to some type of temporary financial fucking holding pen arrangement for a bunch of entitled women and destructive women, demanding of their husbands, of their boyfriends, things that are ridiculous, demanding trinkets and talismans of their perceptual wealth in order to, quite now conspicuously expose, lure in some type of foreign monarch. I'm deadly serious. Isn't it weird? it's weird, but you're all in it together. It's like you've all done the same thing together. And it turns out the foreign monarchs are all gay. They don't even care about it. Which kind of leads you down the path of going like, why did this go on so long? Well, that's because all of those people are gay and they don't fucking care. You know, and they're just as likely to desire, you know, a young peasant girl that's picking. This is Cinderella. Like, Cinderella isn't, it's not a fairy tale, it's not some imaginary thing. It's like, it's a serious warning to the powers that be to not allow a female-dominated economic, political, or society organisational structure, because basically tells you the things. Like, well, the prince is just going to want the little slave girl anyway, in reality, because the prince is sitting above all of the things. And it's like, because it just isn't important. It's only important to women to position themselves on a scaffolding of, I don't know, of just strange fishing. They're like basically fishing. So the women of the world, the more mature women, collectively fishing for big game fishing, like sports fishing, which is again not attractive. It occasionally is. It's like, this is the way most men, as far as I'm concerned, it's like, you know, they appreciate it if a woman is you know, is cool enough to like, oh yeah, I'll try and catch a fish. If the woman's got her own sport boat and a fucking, you know, a gallery of reels, like a you know, and a fishing shirts, it's like, bleh! And the thing is, it's like, before you say, Shannon, that's the most sexist fucking thing I've ever heard, before you come at me, you stupid bitches, you fucking need to understand that all I hear from women is that every guy in Australia's just got a fucking photo of him with a fish. And it's like, well, every stupid cunt in Australia is fishing off a fucking trawler for fucking black marlin that are never gonna come. I was meant to just chill today. Today was just meant to be chill. Okay? The secret desires of women is basically that they're always waiting for this mysterious wealthy figure to come and sweep them out of their fucking crazy bullshit situation that they've got themselves into. Well, on the pier, you know, just eyeing off the fucking big boats. Oh, one day I'm going to have a big boat. And then the other women are just basically like, you'll never have a big boat, you stupid bitch. Now get down on the floor and scrub the fucking floor so you can pay my rent. It's fucked up, isn't it? It's fucked up because, again, and this is from one thing, you all assumed that the big bad wolf was a man. No, he is not. Think about it. It's like Little Red Riding Hood, right? There's Grandma, and then there's the big bad wolf. Not one, it's Grandma, you know, has a, even when we're in this world of like pronouns, you know, Grandma is a pronoun, you know, and it insinuates old woman with mother and grandchildren. Little Red Riding Hood doesn't really even say again that could be a little boy. You know, because little boys are being you know, mistreated in this arrangement as well. But again, let's basically, I think most people assume, but assumptions again, you know, don't judge a book by its fucking, by its name. Don't judge a book character by its descriptive motivum. Is that the word? Oh, anyway. But that's like, if we go to that assumption, Little Red Riding Hood's a little girl. She's trying to get to Grandma's house. You know, and one might assume then again, it's like maybe Grandma. Has she warned Little Red Riding Hood? Maybe that's the strange bit. It's like she's going to warn her. Right. And I guess we're right in the moment where the big bad wolf is going to try and kill Grandma, right? To sneak into there and dress up like Grandma. I guess that's where we are, if this was the story. And that's the most dangerous period, because when that happens, right, then the circle is completed, right? But who would intervene? Usually some type of woodsman, some type of brawny woodsman is going to, and that takes on a whole different approach if you understand it. That is just a woman, that is just a go-getting corporate woman who is doing her business. She needs to eat. And she needs to, create a burrow that attracts a sufficient mate in there. Yeah? Let's get down in the fucking mud with these gender dynamic fucking fairy tales. If that is a woman wolf, well then she has every right to pretend to be grandma and eat that little fucking bitch entitled Red Riding Hood fucking little small slut. Look at her. What happens if Little Red Riding Hood's fucking pouring herself out with huge fucking dildos on the internet? I'm trying to create an army of simps to overthrow the fucking wolf. Well, then we're in a situation. We're in a situation of elevation. Elevated fucking need to protect our environment, our territory. What if the big bad wolf, it's got little cubs at home, and Little Red Riding Hood would sufficiently, nutritionally fucking provide for those cubs for, say, a 2-week period. Wolves are very efficient with their utilization of fresh meat. They've got all types of things that can go through a long time. There's a lot of like sinew and cartilage that is also consumed by wolves, which fills their bellies, makes them feel full. That's the only way that we don't have, an over decimation of Little Red Riding Hoods. The moment where we're in the fact where it's like there is no cubs, there is nothing. It's just conspicuous wealth projection. And Little Red Riding Hoods are being killed all over the place, and they're just being left on the floor. The big bad wolf doesn't even need to pretend to dress up like grandma anymore, because we've just accepted a absolutely dangerous environment is the norm. We're sending young girls out as soon as they're of age to go and, try and fucking sweep up the fucking chaff and gather enough grain from the fucking harvest to come and provide for them for their own, their own trajectory of conspicuous wealth, which is just propped up by this oversupply of big, bad female wolves. Whew. Imagine fucking fairy tales were like that. Imagine fairy tales like we've had, like this is really the big one. Has everyone seen the new Snow White? Obviously Snow White being named after her skin. Her skin was Snow White. Like this paper here is white. That paper there is yellow. Can you see the difference? Right? Now, the story's called Snow White because in part of the story is that she had white skin.
G'day folks, so I'm going to give you a bit of a
So I guess the point where we've already crossed
that bridge.
A way of
remembering your measurements
there were
when
trolls
you're a long way away from your power source. So I have to cut a spacer to go in between this stirrup here.
And you can go and see them. Go and watch any review of the new Snow White movie. Go down into the comment section. You will see the bridge trolls there, trying to consume the conversation into racial, whatever. But it's like, let's just barge all of those doors open, and let's just imagine that Snow White wasn't
mistakes are
a girl. Holy shit! Not like a trans person. Like it's just an actual boy. And that's, if you want to see some real pushback, you make Snow White, have
now solve it their way.
Mediterranean complexion. You want to see fucking World War VII. You make Snow White a little boy, and you see what fucking happens. But, statistically speaking, in the production of all agricultural, livestock production, the male cohort of livestock, which I would hope, we are at a preventative maintenance system for not allowing our society to turn into a livestock operation. But the males don't do so well. There's an odd one. There's an odd one that does fairly well for himself. He usually has a paddock to himself. and he has another paddock next to him where he intermittently goes in there and provides a bunch of other snow whites to eventually be consumed by the big bad wolf. You know, very simplified system, you know, designed to occupy all the things and then provide whatever. That's called domestication. You know, which is what it's called when you get your husband or boyfriend to do the dishes. That's why I will never do the dishes, ever. Why would I do the dishes when my sole job is to make sure that the oversupply of big bad wolves is kept to a minimum so that the snow whites can develop and recover from this, you know, unfortunate period of livestock management as opposed to societal evolution and development. You know, where we have livestock, but we do not become livestock. Very important. You know, the most important thing is that, well, we have livestock, we do not become the livestock. And the funniest, almost ironic thing about most vegans in Australia is that they are the ones most strongly pushing for the institutionalized, societally, politically reinforced version of human livestock operation. Which is what I mentioned yesterday, where Prince William is looking over the people at the chipmunk in the tree. The socialist vegetarians and vegans out there are doing the same thing, right? And it's like they're the livestock, they're the prey, and they're also the predator. You know, it's an all-out fucking messy situation. But we need to comb through the necessities of the situation. We have too many people doing the absolute worst possible thing. Okay? Now, guess who comes to save the day in the real human story? If we take all the consumption of meat out of the equation, we're just talking about economics. Which particular archetype of person is required to take this monstrosity and turn it back into society? What are they colloquially referred to in today's culture of young people? I wish sometimes I had an actual audience. I have a comment section. Obviously people are watching. This will be the time, but it doesn't mean it's going to be a one-sided presentation because it's probably more long-lasting. You know, it's in my asset column, all of these videos, and I guess the fact that it's not polluted by comments and me getting shitty at trolls is a better, premium product for the long run. Okay, it has more life volume, lifetime value, which is what I'm most concerned about when I'm investing in my personal assets. Okay, anyway. The archetype, the identifiable label that is positioned on the person that is vital to basically, you know, shift this temporary nonsense into something more stable and fruitful for all people. Okay, in a non-livestock system, in a societal development system. What is required is referred to as a billionaire. Okay, and it's a billionaire. Reason you need $1 billion for a problem this large is because, and you need an actual billion, not a corporate, you know, holding, what do they call hedge fund. Yeah, that's not that. Sometimes hedge funds are very directly managed, and like a billionaire is going to have some type of personal hedge fund, not a generic kind of faceless, nameless billionaire. You need a personality level billionaire to solve problems like this, right? Because it puts pressure on everyone, and the whole game is ended in one moment when you realise it is required. You know, and this is the thing. It's like the billionaire is basically like if your house is getting broken into at 2 o'clock in the morning, and you know who do you phone? You phone the police. A billionaire is like a policeman for the mass-scale societal decline. So no one hesitates in phoning a policeman, right? But we have the lower socialist, communist, Marxist, Leninists down the bottom going, oh, fucking tax all the billionaires, tax all the billionaires, tax all the billionaires, right? They're evil. They don't do anything good for society. Right, and then we have the middle cohort doing the same. But it's the middle cohort that are preying upon this thing and degrading the entire culture. And the worst thing for them is a billionaire, because they expose how ridiculous this gaudy, conspicuous consumption materialist fucking delusion is. En masse, in one go. All of you are so shit. All of you are so disgusting and shit. Right? And that is why we are allowing right now this Labor Party of Australia to basically fucking rob you and beat you in the fucking street, so that you never, ever, 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 ever think of doing this again. So your children don't. You need to create your own fairy tales and fucking, and archetypes. And you need to tell that story. Because half of your fucking useless fucking, propped up fucking little snowflake children are going to be in the shit. Right? And what you've been doing is not going to exist. There is a way. There is a way. When society looks like this, right? A nice gradual slope. And in reality, there should be 20 of these. There should be 20 nice gradual slopes from, you're just starting out and this is your desired location, right? And there should be 20 of these. And you might have, this is where you may have a multi-millionaire, and that's what most people are actually desiring. Billionaire is a different thing. A billionaire is not this, right? That there should be a sufficient amount of multi-millionaires in prominent positions with stable example at a plateau height of whatever particular avenue of life you'd like to pursue, like farmers, miners, building companies, resource companies, sales companies, advertising companies, media companies. There's more than 20. There's fucking 100, 150 at least. Right? That's where the multi-millionaires live, and they're supposed to build a gradual fucking slope, right, to allow everyone down that thing. And this creates stability. Because remember, there's 150 of these, right? A billionaire intervenes above all of them, right? Which requires a ridiculous amount of work. It's not like I'm here, I've got a little farm, I've got a little dairy operation, I've got a little bread. It's not that. It's like, I'm going to move huge fucking sections of the entire fucking system in order to stop this fucking weird little glut in the middle. Right? And it's like, I understand it's all the things. It's like, it's not, the reason they make so much money is because they are fixing so many problems that are caused by people not fixing problems. How if we get young people and we follow them with drones and we watch how many pieces of rubbish they will walk by, that is the same across the entire fucking spattering of our society. We have unfortunately been breeding people and training people to be celebrated in avoidance, because celebrated in avoidance is a type of self-victimization. And the way that our political system is functioning at the moment is it is gathering up self-declared victims and real victims. Like, they are in fact victimized by the other side of politics, pandering to the wrong place, the wrong position, allowing this wealthy class to act horrifically, to act oversimplified, to not, and it's the same, because the same as every one of these 150 individually identified, social pathways and hierarchies should be a gradual slope. It's like the billionaires need to build a gradual slope as well, to train and establish a replacement billionaire class that doesn't necessarily consist of their children, right? Because the anomalous things required by a billionaire are anomalous for a reason. They're emergent sporadically. They are not distributed down family lines, unfortunately. So they need to build a system that ensures their family lines against the fucking thing until the appropriate person manifests in that line and then emerges and then is conditioned and trained and prepared to fill the position as the billionaire. Now at this stage, I'm guessing that that's what I am. Right? So it's like, here we go. It's like, there, come at me. Come at me. I had a KFC Zinger Burger last night. Most of my work right now is hard fought for. It's like, this is a highly disruptive position in society. And it is vital. Because it doesn't just take out one big bad wolf. It takes them all out and redirects them to the appropriate way to live. Which actually provides, like, the minute you understand that big bad wolf archetype, the woman searching for the foreign whatever, in this consuming frenzy of whatever, the minute you find out that that's never going to work and it's never going to happen anyway, that becomes, even the big bad wolf is a victim of this inappropriate design, of this misdirected, investment, all of it. Quite basically, it's like the thing to do is to look to well-established areas and look. Okay, basically, these houses that we all live in Australia are completely ridiculous. There needs to be identifiable communal centres, not like we know. Highly developed, highly developed, highly aesthetically whatever, that provides a collection of conspicuous wealth to a group of people that identify themselves openly and collectively as a council or as a community, right? Because they bought in. Now the most important thing is that they're never, ever gonna own the fucking land that they fucking live on. They own the building. Not this retirement bullshit that we did in the last decade. That was a fucking con. All of it. Right? This is the only acceptable thing. You have an asset. Your whole job, if you're in this middle class, is if you're an entrepreneur and you want to fucking try and build a social network system to bring these people together, right? You need to be brought together. You need to realise that more than likely your property price is going to fucking die in it's a hot air balloon, okay? But you still have an asset, and you still have wealth, and you still have equity, right? And you have experienced positional control. You need to be collectivized and identified and grouped together by sales representatives and real estate agents of the highest level, not of the lowest level. And you need to be sold and purchase convenient living arrangements in a futures type arrangement. And that needs to happen faster than anything's ever happened before. Right? And that's a whole lot of economic work. It's like, we basically, if you're living in a type of bungalow, right, that needs to be distributed to, it needs to be lowered in price, because it is actually a nightmare. Right? But you need to be You need to have focus to going either out into the country or into the metropolitan. That's it. In or out. So do you want to go out to the country or do you want to go into the metropolitan? And obviously metropolitan includes like identifiable regions of like ports and waterways and things like that. And then we need to hyper develop like more appropriate urban level like settlements, not settlements, but like developments. And they're expensive. And we can't build them the way that we've been building other shit. Okay? There needs to be absolutely zero fucking outward union interaction to do with these construction jobs from these established unions and governments. Because you created this shit. So these are the agreements. Like, you want to steal fucking 30% of these people? Well, you have no fucking union on your jobs because we're not going to need as many fucking people. And you need to get the fuck out of that fucking job. And that's the situation that you create. And we're going to use automation, we're going to use, 3D fucking robotic fucking construction and all these things. And then we're going to develop the highest level construction management, companies that only train the best of the best of the best that have no desire to sit in a fucking crib room in a high vis and fucking waste billions of dollars of Australia's money. So if you have participated at any level in any union activity, you are barred for life from entering this entire fucking system. You can whittle down your fucking little claim somewhere fucking else. But you will not be participating in this, and your children will not be participating in this. This is an open invitation to anyone, expressions of interest for their desire to conceptual model of high-level construction management and oversight. That is it. If you were going to send your kid to medical school, right, and you've realised you've taken the temperature of the world and you've said, I think doctors are about to have a downturn, you'd be exactly right. You'd be exactly right. And this position is open for applications. It is the most prestigious training, conceptual university level, training that there will be, because there is a whole lot of new things that we need to learn how to do. It takes all of the thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of years of construction experience, right? It pushes it through an artificial intelligence, and community level development, financial development, top to bottom, beautiful developments that are at a premium level. No worry about the inflationary property value underneath, just which again makes it far cheaper. Okay, because this is a long-term investment for my investors, which hold the property in another system. The property and the housing is kept separate. Okay, the property, if you want a stable long-term investment, you invest in my property thing. If you want the faster return or actually individual lodging, housing, or investment opportunity, then you invest in the house or the property, the building, right? If you'd like to invest in the construction firm, you can invest in that right now. Okay? Lots of investment coming here in beautifully held, financial instruments to put your portfolio of investment properties in. Don't all rush at once. You know what I mean? This is going to be slow and steady. The revealing of this, the outlay. This is 2 years, okay? 2 years. If you'd like to right now offload some property, invest in a particular property level, the actual holding, this is your time to start getting that in order. There is absolutely no investment in the housing or the construction at all right now. It's just property. These are people that are over there. They're either looking to retire, or they're looking to downsize, or whatever they want to get out of the top of the market. Right? There's no reason getting out of the other market because no one's going to be there to buy it. But you want to top out right now and put your money somewhere safe. Then you put it in my property holding company with this clearing ground, groundbreaking ceremony here this morning in order to get this done. That's you. If you're over fucking and you've got really no collateral, no equity, no nothing, you just got a bunch of fucking, you have a problem. You should probably go talk to someone. You have a gambling problem. That's a different place. I don't provide anything that is anything resembling a casino or a digital casino or a whorehouse. It's nothing, or a drug dealer. It's nothing like any of that. So if you've gotten used to a kind of consumer environment of those types of things, we don't have anything for you. We have responsible long-term investments for well prepared and well established investors, everywhere. But most prominently Australia, we can offer different services, a different rate for Australians, because we do want to assist Australia. Right now, I guess I'll forward this to Angus Taylor this morning, and he can get to work in realizing that there's more than one way to fucking skin a cat. Okay, and that skinning a cat, he's going to have to dig deep here. He's going to have to dig deep. We've got 2 years or whatever it is, 3 years to the election. It's like, this is not a time to be pandering towards, gambling habits. It's a time to heighten and establish your actual hard, firm, responsible base, right? And then by example, we have, again, 2 years. 2 years to establish that we know what we're doing at the highest level. We have full commitment. We have full dedication, discipline, all the things required to actually do the thing that these labour union bullshit artists have been pretending that they know how to do for a long time. Why? Because we're billionaires. That's what we do. If you don't have $1 billion, then get the fuck out of the room. That's it. Your collective unionisation fucking nonsense party, right? Your perpetual back-scratching fucking drug fucking underworld empire is useless in this fucking situation. So get the fuck out of the room and prepare your own strategy to deal with your fucking cohort of fucking delinquents. I'm not concerned. I am just as likely to receive a person, Labour voter, long family, down in the months, not necessarily connected to a particular union or political representative, but in special circumstances, maybe if there's an absolute appeasement to normality and to stable societal whatever, then maybe there'll be exceptions. But it's like, obviously, the people I need, a majority of them are going to come from that place. I'm building their pathway through. And the unionisation comes from things like stock holdings or property futures options or things like that, individually on a contractual basis, right? So that we bolster and we build an incentive structure for merit, not for cooperation, not for gang fucking bullshit, not for mob rule. Merit, right? Which is the example. When you have an entire generation that's been exposed to merit, false merit of a smooth talking, tattooed fucking kickboxer, it's time for drastic things. It's like the person in your environment, young people, that disappears soon, breaks contact, you start seeing him rather than whatever at the pub, he's at the library or he's at some type of thing, or he's learning some engineering thing and he's rubbing shoulders with people that are going to build the future of Australia, right? That's the person. They're not going to be splashing it at you. They'll more than likely share some of the progress. They're not going to be gaudy fucking leaning on Lamborghinis. The Lamborghini is not the fucking trophy, right? I've already established that. By a personal deal with Lamborghini, who's going to build a town with just fucking Lamborghinis. That's the fucking trophy. Right? It's a trophy that's so large that you can't understand it. If you can understand some level of conspicuous wealth, the chances are that it's not at the top. Top level wealth is mysterious. No one fucking has any idea what's going on, because that's the whole point. It is unknown. No, you cannot know it. Conspicuous wealth is a con. right? It's like a fucking nose ring or a fucking tattoo. It's a con. You know, the types of status things that women need to be driven towards, right, need to be better established. And it needs to break all of these things. It's like if you're a online digital, you know, content creator, you need to understand that you are lowering your stock options for the future. You know, it needs to be well established that because of this, you know, this gross negligence by our governmental system, that there needs to be a lifted age of adulthood to 21. These children are not fucking adults. 21. And that means that if you are trying to participate in any type of fucking mysterious digital fucking content distribution, whatever it is, your parents have absolute right to shut that down in the fucking water. You know, these are the types of things that Australia actually wants, but we're not allowed to say that we want because, again, we didn't identify that the big bad wolf would have been a woman. It's important stuff. You know, to all the families out there who now have, you know, 3 more years, you know, with elevated powers of intervention into their children's digital activity, well, you can thank us by either investing in our systems or by voting along the lines that we are going to do. And this will be both. You know, basically, I want to explode the Labor Party and explode the Liberal Party and say, I only want the best of you and the best of you. I don't want anyone else. If you are a mob-based fucking, you know, goose-stepping fucking conformist, I don't want you in this moment. I want to fucking stick the entire House of Parliament in a blender and blend it the fuck up and say, I want you because you're a well-established, responsible person, you know, actually highlighting the needs of this cohort in the Labor Party. And I want you because you haven't been swept into either the hyper secure, conspicuous wealth paradigm or the hyper novelty-based digital tech fucking, you know, bubble. You understand bricks and mortar, you know, hard basis facts. That's it. That's who we want. Yeah? That's a party there. It's not going to be called the Liberal Party because that already is too confusing. You know, at the moment, it's called the Dark Greens. That's it. Why? Because we are concerned with the environment, but we do it in the dark. We don't fucking use it as our fucking false idol of environmental concern like a particular prince that shall not be named. You know, we understand that people, it's not acceptable in this current era to basically bullshit. You know, this greenwashing nonsense fucking windmill fucking, you know, vegan bullshit is not acceptable because we're going to move the needle thus much, not this much. Okay, we're not socialist fucking hippies having a drumming circle to try and, I don't know, plant some everlastings in our front yard and make it a fucking flag of our virtuous fucking alignment with Gaia. We're not doing that. We're going to sustainably provide water, shelter, food, fuel, warmth, cooling, everything for everyone, and we're going to make billions and billions of dollars while we're doing it, which if we decide to, we might invest in some type of environmental protection. You know, that's how we fucking do it. And you're going to be knocking on your door. You're going to be pulling the beads off, pulling the tie-dyes off, taking your bandana and sticking it in the bottom drawer and bashing on our fucking door to get a job. You know, and we're going to welcome you in because we don't judge. We understand useful exuberance. Why? Because I participated in useful exuberance to its fullest level and I was a moronic fucking idiot. So all of your sins are absolved. You know what I mean? There's no expectation to be particularly religious. There's an expectation to be particularly realistic. That's it. Realistic. Dots connecting dots. People need houses. Houses need to be built. Builders need to be built to build houses. Financial systems need to be built to finance builders and builders' education and machinery and property. We connect these dots, and it's all public. If you would like to know any detail about anything that we're doing, it will be here every day. You know, there's no mystery. There's no backroom fucking deals. There's no fucking glowing, shining fucking multi-story fucking skyscrapers. We're here every day, and you can go back and look at all the other things. And that will give you confidence that you're not investing in some type of fucking pyramid scheme. You're investing in a beautiful, stable country, society, or a patch of it, community, whatever it is. Again, my family's commitment to this country is established under the individual that quite literally assisted to build this federal government. Okay? And that is an important structure, but it is by far not the most important structure. The most important structure for every Australian citizen is the structure that keeps the reign off yours and your children's heads, right? So you should be hyper concerned with where that structure is, where the institution is that owns it, where the institution is that built it, where the institution is that manages it, where the institution is that governs over the particulars of its laws and societal norms that are existing just outside and in the local environment around it. Makes sense? Does it make sense? Can we put the fucking Alice in Wonderland period, just firmly behind us now? Can every parent across the country, an intern across, I don't want to get too ambitious, but the world, breathe a sigh of relief right now and go, oh my God. Oh my. And you can say this, oh my fucking God. What the fuck was that? If we were insects, which I would never claim, it's called a swarm. You know what I mean? It's called a swarm or it's called a plague. Yep. Everything we've ever heard of is called a plague because, there's something comes and is a plague onto us. Right? This is really, and it's not the first time it's happened, but it's probably the first, extremely well documented, high level human plague that has ever existed at this level, and it's ridiculous. There is going to be a period of depression because of what everyone has done. Okay? It's necessary. The thing to do during depression is to develop yourself and to develop your compass to steer yourself out of depression. Right? Which is a personal journey. It's like you've got to take a whole lot of things of your life. If you're a young person, this means that you have a really simple job to do. It's going to feel incredibly large, but it's quite simple, right? Depression, you in mud, in depression. The economy's in depression. My mum and dad just lost fucking $300,000. Depression, right? It's like you've got to remember. It's like left foot, right foot. That gets you in a straight line. Where do you want to go? Most important thing. That's going to expose you to a directional, fucking chaos. Right, you're going to be tempted to be pulled and led in all different directions, but you need to envision a particular path that is the collection of your lived experience and your collective desires, but probably more than likely through a step into responsibility rather than wonder. And what I can guarantee you is that every step into that responsible pathway will actually provide you with the wonder that you were falsely getting from either drugs, alcohol, gambling, or sex, or fucking any of the things. Right? It's not like you can't do anything. That's not the point. The point is that if you have the right direction, you will get through all the other things unscathed. Even if sometimes it feels like you are being intensely scathed, you will get through them unscathed. We need to build compasses that work here, okay? And I think a lot of you, if you are recently immigrated here, you need to realize that your biological compass is upside down. Okay, you need to acclimatize yourself to this place, which is really new, right? A good example that you might want to look at for something new is the nation state of Israel, because it's new. It was forged through unbelievable hostility. You know, there was literally a boat there called the Exodus, and every single nation in the world sent them away. They literally barricaded them outside and would not let them into Palestine. And it makes Greta Thunberg's flotilla look like a canoe. It looks ridiculous. That nation state there is a refuge for a population of people that should not need a refuge. Any other identifiable nationality is just as likely to be scapegoated into a worldwide genocidal outrage. Most prominently at the moment, I would say the Irish are on thin ice. And a lot of the Irish are on really thick ice in their fucking crack pipes that they're smoking far too much of. It is not above the abilities of a collection of billionaires or politicians or monarchs, whatever, to collectivise outrage and genocidal rage towards the Irish people. And that is why your protection of Palestine is so disgusting in this moment, because you are so bolstered by your glorious, outward migration, that you are hindered in observing your actual interactions. It's not long ago that the Irish were rocking up on ships and they were welcomed in, because they've got their own Ireland. I can't imagine what the Jews would do with Ireland. Luckily, we're not going to let them have it, but still, think about it. Basically, we have billions and billions and billions and billions and billions of bosoms conspiring to incept us with the concept of Jewish Holocaust genocide. For no reason at all. No reason at all. Just compass, as I said. You'll pursue whatever you put your compass on, and that's the thing. Right? There are bite-sized, like an entree. Oh, that's an entree genocide, just for Jews. You know what I mean? It's like there's lots of it. But what the Jews do, the reason for it is they hold the highest level of awareness. Everybody has some awareness of this culture, of this nationality, of this tribe, or whatever it's called the Jews, right? But they're small and bite-sized, so it's achievable. Right? Everything I've done in order to get to this point means that I've never gone for something achievable. Really. That's not what I'm directing towards. In the moment, my next step will be achievable. Which is actually a true telling of what the extreme Islamic direction is. Like that shows you their first step is the genocide. And just like my first step this morning to do what I'm doing is this video. This doesn't involve any genocide. In fact, it's the complete opposite. So there's no race, religion, or appearance standards towards investment here. Which is what we're always accused of, isn't it? That's what the Jews are accused of. Oh, control. It's like, no. It's the same. But remember that, like, in right now, a lot of Israelis are literally neighbours with Muslims around. It's just that. It's like they are not impeded with this first step good. And it's the same. It's like a lot of people out there are impeded by a similar thing. First step, have drink. First step, have wine. First step, have pill. First step, have bet. It's like, this is it. First step, fucking, create my social media, whatever. It's like, no. First step is not determined by anything other than what your compass, end result, end direction, end conceptual envelope is requiring. So if you're walking on a path and a tree falls over it, your first step, you just got to walk over that tree, And this is real life. It's like if you're trying to build your social media platform, empire, network, thing like that, right? The first hurdle that's going to be stuck. Do you want to do OnlyFans? As a young girl, as a young woman in this country, and unfortunately, I can't believe it. Right, this is it. That's it. That's the first request you're going to get. When the fuck did that not become a crime? You know what I mean? What? You asked, will I become a fucking digital porn star so that I can sell you for $10 my vagina? That's a crime to request that. There's a grace period because you're all delinquent fucking parents and absolute fucking disgusting fucking individuals who've allowed this to percolate through the fucking system, right? But that grace period is about to fucking come slamming down. That is a crime. If your child requests digital fucking pornography from a person, that's a crime. So you better fucking train your little prick to fucking have some respect for women in any environment before he's hung, before he goes and stands trial for fucking, for sexual harassment or whatever, That's it. See, that's like, oh, fuck. I almost turned into a fucking radical Muslim regime then. I thought we could hang him up in the fucking... No. And actually it'd be the opposite. In the Muslim regime, they'd probably hang the woman up. It's either that. We either hang women in the street or we discipline young men and young women responsibly. And to do that, we need to know who they are. And we need to know who their parents are. And we need to know how to, how to place restrictions on these things. Your son was caught fucking doing this. And not in a, basically this rebellious like, oh my god, the fucking dogs are always after me, man. Oh my god, my son didn't fucking do shit, man. I fucking this bullshit. You're not the fucking Shah of fucking anywhere, Dan. You will be fucking publicly fucking disgraced. And your family and your fucking little prick. It's that simple. It's time to take all of that fucking Middle Eastern fucking entitlement and fucking pieces, or we can gather you all up on a boat and watch the world fucking turn you away. Just as easily. We need to fill some space. There's a lot of people from Europe and England that have been coming down and welcomed here again. So make your decision fucking wisely. Whenever you do anything, whenever you're trying to prepare your child's life and different things like that, right? There is nothing wrong with romance. There's nothing wrong with flirtation and attraction and sex and all these things. If it's held in respect. Respect is, and it's hard to build laws on respect, right? But if you think it's like that, these platforms, they're a workplace, right? They're a weird, strange, whatever. But it is a workplace, right? If your son is working for my company, and he asks one of my other staff who happens to be a woman, and look, this actually applies across the fucking field. This is same with men on men, men on women, women on men, whatever. Any way it is, right? You're gonna get fired. You're fired. You can't ask one of your co-workers to fucking go and build a pornography empire and sell to me for $10. That's putting the horse so far behind the cart that it's not even funny. It's not like, hey, do you want to go on a date? Like, it's not even in the same fucking universe as that. Do you want to go and benefit and exposure in time, whatever future fucking aspirations in a experimental digital thing, and distribute to me at the highest socialized level, lowest socialized level of whatever, to a mass-produced, commodity-based, picture of your tits? Think how long that sentence is. that is now legally what the sentence is, right? Because you're in a workplace. Why are you there? Why are you in our building? Asking women to think. What the fuck are you doing? That woman is trying to become a veterinarian. That woman is trying to become a teacher. That woman is trying to become whatever. That woman is you know what I mean? But there are places you can go for that type of thing. It's a strip club or a fucking brothel. That's it. If there are people existing in that environment, it's like go there. But you cannot proposition in those environments, especially someone that has no indication that they're doing that. It's a crime. It's a large fucking crime. It's going to ricochet through your entire family. It's going to disgrace your family. You're going to be labelled with it for a while. It's going to restrict you from getting a good job. It's going to restrict you from buying a fucking house. It's going to restrict you from lots of fucking things. Why? Because I don't want any fucking grotty fucking perverts in any of my fucking holdings. And I want to know. So I want to know if you've been flagged for fucking propositioning women on the internet and social media, because I don't want you in my fucking presence. And I'm not alone in that feeling. Is that all good? Isn't it amazing what can actually be politically done if you take up the responsibility, if you do all your homework, if you do all your research, if you learn, this, you learn to speak, you learn to do whatever it takes, including putting on a little fucking sports fucking thing that is actually good. It's pushing my ribs in because my ribs are too big because I was practice singing songs while sitting in the car working for 12 plus hours a day. Isn't it amazing what you can do with, outward expressive rage when it's focused and concentrated into appropriately developed, financially sound, socially responsible, politically, dynamic, driven path. It's amazing. This is not taught to you at your school, right? Because your school is trying to prop everyone up, and we're all with this. We're all here, but it's like, no, we're not all here. There is a prick that is sexually harassing. There's bullies. There is fucking perverts. There's sensitive people. There's all these different things. There's geniuses. There's everything. Right. The thing is, we need a firm middle. Like we need a place, acceptable, strip across our society, right? But you can indeed fall down below it, and you can rise above it. Right? That is the height, that is the extent of my desires for socialism. That's it. Right? And it does not allow you to imprison yourself with medication or restrict, your disability, current disabled thing into a lifelong, whatever, or it does not enable you to project your poverty, whatever, to again, a lifelong thing. It's like, it's an acceptable strip. The way it's been described before, it's like a landing place. No, we need people to land out. We need people to land out. The support system should not be here. It needs to be here. There's requirements. And this is where it's like, when you build a judicial, legal, political system that has it here, like, what happens is if you disrupt that system, you're put straight there, and then you're at the bottom. And then you're treated differently. You're treated as an exile. That's not how it should work. We are in a multi-dimensional level of fucking chaos. Almost everything coming towards a political, financial, societal, educational, legal is going to be disruptive because we're in 1,000 new environments. That was the biggest mistake. Right? We need a middle section of societal protection. You are societally protected in Australia in this middle region, lower middle region, right? So it's not gonna get you a car and a fucking. It's gonna get you here, right? And then everything needs to follow that. You can fall out of here, which is not good, very bad. This is in fact where the West Australian and the Australian Labor Party stuck every single person that decided not to get vaccinated. They kicked them out of our society. That will never happen again. This is it here, right? You got to fuck up and then you fall out here. And if you do the minimalist amount of actual dedicated work, you will easily jump out of there and you will never think about that again. And you won't just pay your taxes moaning that it's protecting this fucking, Olympic swimming pool of fucking delinquents. You will understand that it's protecting, a lower middle that has fallen on hard times, which you are just as likely to do. But you should always know that it is more usually a personal failing that forces you completely. You know what I mean? And there should be people from here trying to help those people down there, and there should be people up the top that are trying to help the people down there. And no one down there should ever be considered a lost cause. No one down there should ever be deleted from society. Okay? Because that's the territory of sin. If you're in here, more than likely you've sinned, or someone has sinned against you, which has caused yourself to sin, and that's why you need to be forgiven out. That's the church territory. You know what I mean? And it's like when we stratify appropriately, when we have, all right, government supports this. It's not a lower, right? And it's not an upper. It's a lower, middle protection system that all Australians can easily access, that provides you with the base living standards. Then entrepreneurial people up here can develop solutions to house and feed and employ and occupy this region, right? It shouldn't ever be. It's like you shouldn't be given assistance and then thrown in the casino. What the fuck does that do? It doesn't do anything. It's like you are down here, right? Not council estates, not anything. It's just like more efficient and lower, like whatever living space, all that, right? But the thing is to get out of it, and it should be very quick and easy for you to get out. Right down here is where the church is going to deal with, and legally. The separation of church and state is going to, appropriately redeclare itself. Anyone who has been pushed into this region, right, is going to be governmentally assisted by the church. And we're going to appropriately build these systems down. Not me, I'm not, but I am, in support of that. And that means that we have a moral authority below the governmental authority that can make sure that if there's too many people, we can intervene, or the church can intervene. Why is there too many people coming to us in this state? You know what I mean? That's as simple as it gets. The church used to be up here. And it also used to be down here. It's like this is the thing. It's like then it becomes independent. It's like you can be part of the church that's in here, you can support the church, you can whatever. Down here protecting this, governmentally protected and assisted, right, with all the things that you've tried to take away. Right. And then as an individual up here, you may be religious, and you're up to do what you want. You don't collectivise under the church. That's the whole idea. The idea wasn't to remove religious intervention into these societal systems, or religious moral argumentative pushback. That's why we're in this mess. You took all the people that basically for thousands of years controlled our morals and societal norms, and you destroyed them and tried to build yourself as that, and you've been exposed. You know what I mean? And this is this thing. It's like this. Imagine we've lowered the floor, right? And we've lowered the ceiling of this socially thing, and the government now just has a huge remuneration thing. Unless we can create some beautiful financial instruments in order for you to dislodge your unfortunate investment in this governmental backed, governmental backed socialist, delusion, and into appropriate investment without even ever seeing that 30% tax, because it's a long-term stable investment. It's like you're moving from asset classes straight through, and once we expose this fact, so we don't even need as much money. We're shrinking
Louis Dahl died in Iraq before the war even started.
And we're doing it via another means. We're shrinking your thing. It's like the church is back. They're going to deal with you. They're now your moral counterpart to add to your political counterpart from the released masses of people now able to fruitfully develop and invest in a appropriately developed and responsible economy. Up here, you only have this much to do. Good job. Good job. And as I said, I don't discriminate. I want people from my party, if I was to have a party, from both parties, all parties, everyone. It's whatever it is. So yeah, on this inauguration pitch this morning, I thank you all for watching if you've been to watch, and I hope you have a wonderful weekend coming up. Thank you.
And was a washed-up old terrorist from a previous day. That's good enough. Got Mujahideen cult commie terrorists who've worked for us ever since, but at that time was a good enough excuse to invade Iraq. They would invoke that. And so they made up that doctrine.
The Mujahideen were in Iraq as well as Afghanistan?
Well, this is a particular sect of Mujahideen kooks who were Iranian communist cultists who had left Iran and gone to work for Saddam Hussein, and then were, he supported them. They had nothing to do with anti-American terrorism at that time, except, I guess, committing it when they had worked for Iran previously during the Iranian Revolution. But by the time we invaded Iraq, Donald Rumsfeld inherited them, and they've worked for American Israel ever since then. They have a base in Albania now. But in other words, though, this wasn't Al-Qaeda. This was not any real excuse. They would just invoke the doctrine of fighting terrorism in order to check off this list of all of these governments that they didn't like. And coincidentally and incidentally, and very importantly, of course, this was really, in many cases, Israel's list of enemies. Where if it was, say, Colin Powell, which is what people thought they were voting for in the year 2000, by the way. Well, I don't know about this W. Bush, but at least Colin Powell will be up there. We can trust him. They all said, if it had been up to him, we would have done a two-state solution in Palestine and solved that issue. And then we would have had probably the most limited of wars against Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan, and that would have been it. The rest of it would have been police and/or special forces action. There would have been no invasion of Iraq, which he did lie us into that war, and he's responsible for that. But that was not his policy. That was the policy that came out of the vice president's office and this neoconservative set. And it's really, as Dave Smith correctly says, it's all based on the clean break doctrine, which David Wormser and Richard Pearl, I neglected to mention Richard Pearl and his friends on the Defense Policy Board, but Pearl and David Wormser had written up this policy paper called A Clean Break in 1996, and they wrote it for Netanyahu when he was first prime minister the first time back then. And what it said was, instead of going along with the Oslo peace process and making a deal with the Palestinians, we should just forget all that and we'll have peace through a position of strength and total dominance over our neighbors. And so, but the problem, of course, is, and of course meaning, continue to devour Palestine, what's left, the 22% of what's left of historic Palestine, the West Bank and Gaza. But the problem is, we have Hezbollah on our northern border. And Hezbollah is backed by Iran by way of Syria. So if you just picture the Middle East, if you wanted to draw up a map and just kind of show, there's this arc of power from Tehran in Iran through Syria and to Hezbollah, this Shiite militia in southern Lebanon. Now, Saddam Hussein was the Sunni roadblock in that arc of power. But these guys are stupid and neoconservative. They're as stupid as they are arrogant and certain in their policy. And they believe in this harebrained scheme that the Jordanians and the Turks would be dominant in the new Saddam Hussein-less Iraq. And that even though it's a super majority Shiite Arab country, those Shiites, they just love being told what to do by either their original plan was the Hashemite king, the cousin of the king of Jordan. And then they threw that out, and it was the guy who sold them this line that this was possible in the first place. an Iraqi exile. You might remember from that time, Ahmed Chalabi, the head of the Iraqi National Congress. They said, well, we'll just make him the guy instead, which ended up not happening. But that was their plan, and they said the new Shiite-dominated Iraq the religious leaders in Iran will enforce Hezbollah to stop being friends with Iran and start being friends with Israel instead. And they'll even build an oil pipeline to Haifa, or reopen an old British oil pipeline to Haifa, Israel. And they were sold this bill of goods, and they really believed it. And so you can find this on my website, scottwharton.org. I have a clean break, a new strategy for securing the realm, and then the companion piece is called Coping with Crumbling States, a balanced power strategy for the world. They're both by David Wormser, signed off on by Richard Pearl. And then they wrote a book. Wormser wrote the book, and Richard Pearl wrote the book. It's called Tyranny's Out, America's Failure to Remove Saddam Hussein. Get that? America's the ally of Saddam just because we won't launch a war to regime change right in time. And then based on the same harebrained scheme. And what's funny about this is this guy, David Wormser, now tries to defend himself. And he did an interview on a podcast not too long ago with this born-again Christian about September 11th. But he talked about this, and he's like, yeah, no, that's still right. They'll do whatever the Hashemites tell them to do, those Shiites. They just worship and revere anyone who claims to have the blood of the prophet. But if that was true, as Dave Smith pointed out, well, then how come you can't just call the king of Jordan right now and ask him to ask the Ayatollah to knock it off? Call him and have him ask Hezbollah to stop being friends with Iran. Why couldn't they have just done that this whole time? Why do you have to have a regime change in Baghdad before you can make this magic wish come true? And the whole thing is completely stupid. And the Shiites do revere some of the lineage of the family of the Prophet Muhammad, but one, it's not a magic spell of hypnosis and total control of them. And two, that has nothing to do with the Hashemites, who are Sunnis on a whole separate line and are the British sock puppet kings of Jordan, who used to rule Iraq back 70 years ago or something, but had no purchase there whatsoever. And of course, what happened, just real quick, what happened in the war was they just empowered Iran. They didn't empower Jordan and Turkey and America and Israel over the Iraqis. They just gave Iran even more power than they ever had before. When it was all meant to screw them over, it blew up and we met.
This episode is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. It's good to be passionate about something. Exploring what interests you adds more color to your life, makes it more fulfilling. And that's not just limited to your personal life. If you run a business, you know how much of a difference it can make when the people on your team are excited about what they're doing. And if you don't, well, it's time to find out with ZipRecruiter. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/Rogan. It's been rated the #1 hiring site based on G2, and that's because ZipRecruiter is always looking for ways to improve the hiring process, including its newest feature that lets you see the most qualified and, more importantly, most interested people for your role to make sure they're some of the first you start talking to. Find candidates who really want your job on ZipRecruiter. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/Rogan. That's ZipRecruiter.com/Rogan. Meet your match at ZipRecruiter. Do you think that is because of total incompetence and stupidity, or do you think that it was a scam and that they kind of knew this was going to happen in the first place, but what they really wanted to do was sell a lot of weapons, sell a lot of war, make a ton of money? I mean, the amount of money that was generated, how much money did we spend on the Iraq War?
Oh, I mean, on Iraq alone, at least 5 or 7 trillion. I think it was probably 10 trillion for the whole thing.
So let's stop and think about that.
Yeah.
5 or 10 trillion. Let's just say 5. Let's be nice.
Yeah.
Where's that money going? How many defense contractors were deeply enriched by that? How many defense contractors are involved in, lobbyists, policy, influencing change, influencing certain actions? And why would they do that? Why would they push a harebrained scheme? Is it because of stupidity, or is it because they don't give a what the excuse is? Let's get the party started.
I think...
Let's get some missiles. Let's get some new planes.
Yeah. Okay, so...
Boom.
But, okay, so we can see right in front of us, right here, where Netanyahu convinced Trump this would be easy, and then it wasn't. And I think that's the same thing here. Iraq was supposed to be easy, and it was easy after all, right? You send the Marines to take Baghdad, they could take it. The 3rd Infantry Division and the Marines were done regime changing the place in, 5 weeks? But then it was a matter of occupying the place and the whole thing devolving into civil war and all that. And I think, well, I'll put it to you like this. In the clean break, it might be in coping with crumbling states, but it might even, I think it's in coping with crumbling states, which is the same thing.
Are we back? Okay. Sorry about that. We had that stupid glitch again. Did we get a new computer?
We've done everything. Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm sorry. Let me.
Can I ask you this?
Yeah, sure.
So
on the stupidity or the plan. I think. Look, Plan A is it'll be fine, and then Plan B is at least we can make some money and push this thing on and let both sides fight and weaken each other and these kinds of attitudes for sure.
But that's the point. Like, did they genuinely think that this plan would work, or was this plan just a feasible excuse to talk them into getting the party started?
I have one good argument in your favor there for sure, which would be Senator Joe Biden at the time insisted that we break Iraq into 3.
Our greatest president?
Right there with the worst. That we draw these lines and essentially enforce ethnic cleansing or sectarian cleansing and create 3 sort of mini-states within Iraq. And, Antony Blinken was his right-hand man then, and I mean, that's who these guys are, is, very, very much Israel first, Israel instead types.
Mm-hmm.
There is something before the clean break called the Oded Yanon Plan from, I believe, 1981, which is a real riot to read. It's this Israeli strategist. And the premise of the thing is that the Soviet Union is certain to conquer the entire planet. Talk about one world government, we're about to have one world communism run out of Moscow, and poor little Israel's going to be all alone out here. So we have no choice to smash every near Arab state into as many warring tribal pieces as we possibly can, to weaken all of them relative to us as this desperate strategy. And of course, the Soviet Union didn't exist anymore at all by the end of the decade. But that was the premise for the thing. And and here's what I was going to say before the glitch, was there is a statement I think it's in Coping with Crumbling States, where he kind of says, these states are pretty artificial. And without, the Ba'athist construct in Iraq and Syria, you would have these smaller tribal-based type units. So then, in other words, if you can't have a completely compliant sock puppet there, you might as well make them fight and destroy their countries. And that certainly happened in the case of Iraq, certainly happened in the case of Syria under Obama as well, where they just said, look, if we can't get the Al-Qaeda guys to sack Damascus and get rid of Assad, at least we can just destroy the place.
Do you think there's a parallel in when we first went into Iraq, like Desert Storm? It was very easy, right? Relative.
And then regulate that.
Minimal loss of American lives, and I think everybody got a little cocky.
Oh yeah, that absolutely was part of it. Just like what we just saw with Venezuela. It was so easy. And people ask me right after Venezuela, so what do you think this means for Iran? And then bad news. Right? Like nobody thinks we're going to go in there and kidnap the Ayatollah.
I'm going to benefit from your reputation.
Well, they killed him.
Yeah, that's all you got to do.
And that didn't even help.
For sharing a photograph of my family.
Is it true that whenever
it wasn't the fault of anyone in the photo, that it was a systemic fucking collapse of our entire social system?
I think that happened at least a couple of times early in the war.
Based on a flawed fucking product manufactured in China and distributed by American companies.
We can't say, I think it was Trump said, we can't say who we're negotiating with because they'll get killed. And like you're supposed to think that hardliners in Iran will kill them for trying to negotiate, but no, this is the Israelis will kill them.
Buy that off me.
That is wild.
Fucking nothing.
That's wild. It's wild that it's true.
Every single thing that was in that pond, threw it on my front yard, and took it back to his house so that his dogs could swim. And I stuck mirrors in the pond. That is so ridiculous. Because a mirror was not invented by human beings. Now, how did I choose to symbolically display this 3 years ago? To hold perpetually as my token, as my symbolic liberation from this pharmaceutical cult? Well, I danced around a fucking pond. Under the moonlight, and looked at my reflection in the pond, and I stuck mirrors in the pond. And this brings me to the most despicable individual in this whole pantomime, Anthony Paul Moulding. To the moment, 2 days after I was released from a maximum security prison for sharing a photograph of my family and decreeing that it wasn't the fault of anyone in the photo, but it was a systemic fucking collapse of our entire social system based on a flawed fucking product manufactured in China and distributed by American companies and failed to be appropriately adapted to and responded to all these things. So how did I do that? For 2 days after I was released from that prison, this individual paid me, attempted to buy that off me for fucking nothing. Every single thing that was in that pond, threw it on my front yard, and took it back to his house so that his dogs could swim. If you ever want a better display of what a dissociated fucking mental illness looks like, that's what it looks like. That level of dissociation, because it's moving dissociation. It's like, I'm not just dissociating from you and what you're doing. I'm going to try and benefit from your decline. I'm going to try and, I'm going to benefit from your mother's imprisonment. I'm going to benefit from your reputational damage, right? All while pretending you don't exist and that nothing exists. I'm going to deny anything going on. I'm going to then dance around with your dog and overfeed it and probably medicate. I'm going to prime, medication in the most prominent places so that when your mother, who's been chemically imprisoned for 40 years, wakes up, the first thing she sees is the pills she's supposed to take. I'm going to then try and pander towards my own illness by having cancer, apparently, and then regulate that. I'm then going to spread out and push into your sister, who is also chemically medicated because of, antisocial manifestations of behaviour. Perhaps dissociation and kind of Machiavellian conspiratorial reputation savaging is par for the course with this particular cohort of women, or perhaps it's par for the course for the medication interaction in their brain. Perhaps when all bolstered, when a echo chamber is formed, when it's just one individual down in a shed doing something that no one's ever done before, talking. But it's to a computer, it's to a phone, it's to nothing important. He's down there talking to himself. He's not writing with a quill. No, he's not patiently fucking dedicating his life to scholarship and understanding to the core dynamics of sociology, psychology, religion. He's not doing that. He's talking to a phone. There we go. Case in point. That's it. That's your loop. That's your feedback loop of hell. The phone. They denied my reality because of the phone. When I was trying to make it aware that everyone was denying the reality of everyone because of the phone. Do you understand? This can't exist in any other way. It would if I was, and yes, I do some strange behaviour because again, I can explain why. It's to be assumed that someone put in the position I'm in is going to be having to do something at least a little bit strange so that they don't die. You know what I mean? But that's not the point. The point is this behaviour en masse is far stranger than anything I'm doing and anything that I could possibly ever fucking do. If I was literally slaughtering fucking chickens in the backyard and making fucking milkshakes out of their blood and entrails under the full moon and painting myself in my own feces, howling at the moon and fucking juggling, fucking watermelons and chainsaws while I play fucking relax at the top of the speaker fucking thing and rev my fucking Harley Davidson as loud as I can, it would pale in comparison to how odd this group of fucking morons is acting in their dissociated display of the dangers of the smartphone. Right? They all make it. God knows where we'd be if Steve Jobs wasn't dead. You know, God knows why Steve Jobs is dead. You know, was there a moment where Apple became so much more valuable than Steve Jobs? Obviously. The most, you can assume that the most responsible fiduciary thing to do would be to kill the barefoot hippie that fucking, conceived the thing. Probably. That's probably what happens. This happens everywhere else. Watch the Michael Jackson movie go around and understand who owns it. Does the pharmaceutical industry own Michael Jackson? God damn right they do. He's a patient. He's a patient in the fucking asylum. Think about it. Patient in the asylum is doing fucking moonwalk. And can sit like an... Let's make billions of dollars off his fucking identity and then kill him with our own supply of fucking drugs. Let's kill him and then just live off his corpse. Like what the Christians did. They're exactly like the Christians. Except we have a new thing. We can refresh, right? So when Michael Jackson's out, we bring Kurt Cobain in, we bring fucking Christian in, we bring her out, we bring fucking thing in. We've got a perpetual fucking Jesus fucking manufacturing facility here. All we need to do is keep these crazy fucking loons locked up and under fucking constant observation, experiment on them with ridiculous amounts of drugs and psychological warfare, and cherry pick out the fucking anomalous fucking entertainment ones. The ones that are really high level, able to entertain masses, and then, subtly introduce the concept that medication might be appropriate if you're not at a high level of entertainment, but still suffering from some of the ailments from the constant torture from our industrial anti-religious cult. It's like, does the smartphone have a different trajectory if the psychiatric industry, psychiatric pharmaceutical industrial complex didn't exist? Almost definitely. Almost. When the preconception was already, large portions industrialized confinement via a pseudo-religious cult. Yeah. Everywhere that would have been, everything that would have manifest appropriately via this device would have been identified earlier. There's no way it would have got to a global level because this is the observation device. This is the window looking into the cell that you're in the largest psychiatric hospital ever fucking created and ever liberated. It's amazing, isn't it? It's amazing how, look, who do I look like now? Do I look like Luke Skywalker? Or Obi-Wan Kenobi? You know what I mean? Who do I look like now? Who do I look like if I'm like, rattles, like with a rat? I haven't got a rattle, but you can imagine. Right? Well, you give the little pills the rattle, or but all held under not animism, not independent shamanistic, interaction with your environment, but a controlled anti-religion pharmaceutical psychiatric cult that systemically used PR marketing priming to design a religion from scratch and incorporate individual manifestation of totemic shamanism. consolidated individual totemic tribal shamanism under a psychiatric pharmaceutical cult. That's not what Jesus was. Jesus was a Jewish priest, a Jewish rabbi, trying to restore a deteriorated Jewish temple religion, in the shadow of the Roman Empire. Even the Roman Empire wasn't that. It was a selection of animistic controlled paganism, but it was highly civilized animistic paganism, and majoritively not animistic paganism. It was a civilized, consolidated paganism, but not really, because it's like all the figures. It basically was Christianity. It was monotheism. It was just, it had ethereal beings instead of what are now basically ethereal beings of apostles and saints and fucking all these things. It's like the same. It had devolved into, a level of opulence, and that's the decline, and that's what we're in. But strangely, so strangely, right? The reason that there's no reason to go after China or go after Apple or go after Google. We do need to acknowledge the amounts of the catastrophic amounts of damage, social damage that this has caused. But in the same way that it was not people conceived of as real, right? So it has done untold damage. But the damage is not as long-lasting, it's not as permanent as when it's real. It feels as permanent if you're being dispossessed by it. That's the sin. That's the crime against humanity. That's very real. It's a collective crime against humanity by the collective of humanity and the collective of users of the smartphone that was being declared as a flawed, absolutely bullshit, destructive thing, and ignored, conveniently utilising the flaw. Right? It's a perfect storm event, but in the same way, it also prevented this damage from manifesting too much into the physical world, because a lot of it was actually held in the digital space, which is even weirder. So it strangely defended us from our worst possible desires and aspirations through a humanity level swarming event, or a humanity level plague, a locust plague. Fucking crazy. It's crazy, but nevertheless, it's like if you are particularly possessed by this dissociative avoidance, mentality, you're illegitimate to do anything right now. You need to go and heal. In both sense of that word, you need to go and heal, because you are, unfortunately, like radically affected by a harmful, technological malfunction. You've got to find yourself in the world again. You've got to appropriately locate where and when and how and who you are. And that's, there needs to be assistance in all those things. But it's like the rest of the world, we're going to figure out how to get back on track. So it's like it is quite literally. Prometheus. It's Prometheus envisioned. And I suppose, considering it was Steve Jobs, right? And he is dead, I guess we can just apply the Prometheus effect to Steve Jobs. And Steve Jobs, wonderful man, did this thing, made this thing, barefoot fucking, Steve Wozniak, he's not much, he's a whatever, but Steve Jobs, right, is the Prometheus of this era. Yeah, and his liver is being pecked out of his fucking spleen every night, wakes up and is tortured to death by a giant fucking eagle on a fucking mountain in the Hindu Kush. It's like this is where we need to be. This is a humanitarian level mythology creation event. Okay, Steve Jobs was a figure of mammoth proportions that has that has brought us fire, a fire equivalent world. And yeah, we need to write that story. So if you're a keen literary, whatever, there should be a competition around the world to write the mythology of Steve Jobs appropriately, displaying his eternal condemnation in the afterlife. And I will represent that here for the Catholic Church, and we will apply that to our canon, I believe it's called, and we will distribute it appropriately along, so that it'll go, fire. I think sex, even like sex. I think it was what's his name? Introduced sex. Greek god, and then Steve Jobs. Perhaps his name will morph through the centuries into something else, but he needs to be identified and given the appropriate historic treatment. I myself would like no historic treatment, because I'm here living and very much a part of the restoration of the human race. And so, I hope to die as an old man with my great-grandchildren around me, in a responsibly acquired estate with responsible, things, and a long-lived happy life of contentment after this storm. So there is absolutely no reason to ever remember anything about me, or who, what, how, when, and that's the way I'd like to keep it. As apart from, I would like to be confirmed again as my children's father, and I would appreciate it if they stop participating in this mass denial of the physical world, and its digital projection, which is how the law should govern this space. There is the physical world, and there is a digital projection of the physical world. Anything else apart from that, you're playing a video game, and I don't want to fucking know about it. And if I say to turn the fucking thing off, I mean it. And if you don't listen, I'll pull the fucking plug out. This is parenting in 2026. You can send me a gift card if you'd like to thank me. I wish you all the best. And again, have a good weekend. Thank you.